My sister-in-law is exceptionally thrifty. She managed to rent a beautifully decorated 3-bedroom apartment in a first-tier city for merely 500 yuan. She claimed that renting such a place was far more cost-effective than buying a house, saving tens of thousands of yuan annually. I repeatedly warned her that the so-called flip-flopped houses might have severely excessive formaldehyde levels, posing a high risk of leukemia for children living in such environments. I even offered some money to assist with purchasing a house. Only then did my brother's family buy a new home, move out of that hazardous environment, and thus my nephew was able to grow up healthily. However, whenever my nephew encountered setbacks at work after growing up, my sister-in-law would always tell him, "Your parents had prepared a sum of money for your business startup. It's all your aunt's meddling fault. Otherwise, you wouldn't have to endure such hardships." As a result, my nephew harbored a deep grudge against me for years and eventually poisoned me at a family gathering, leading to my organ failure and death. When I opened my eyes again, it was the day my sister-in-law had just moved into the new home. This time I decided not to meddle. Instead of interfering, I praised her, saying she was truly excellent at managing the household. My wife is so good at managing the family finances. Such a large house, fully equipped with home appliances, and it only costs 500 yuan. That familiar voice rang out again. I opened my eyes and saw my brother excitedly pacing around the rented apartment, while my sister-in-law held her head high, basking in his praise. The pungent smell in the room made me sneeze involuntarily. That's when I realized I had truly been reborn. My sister-in-law came over and asked me, "You've seen the world. Did I strike gold with this rented house?" All eyes in the family turned to me. In my previous life, Lin Weining had asked me the same question. Back then, I immediately noticed the problems with the rental house and told my brother and sister-in-law that these houses were commonly known as flip-flopped houses, mostly rented or sold by property speculators or sublandlords. These houses were renovated at extremely low costs. Due to the use of leutral materials, long-term occupancy could cause significant harm to the human body, especially to my 1-year-old nephew. Concerned about the only heir in the family, my brother quickly moved out of the rented house and bought a new one with the money I provided. Unexpectedly, after my nephew grew up, whenever he faced difficulties at work, my sister-in-law would always shift the blame to me. She told my nephew that his parents had originally saved a sum of money for his business, but because of my interference, they were forced to buy a house. Otherwise, he would have already started his own company and become a boss. From then on, my nephew held a grudge against me. At a family gathering, he secretly poisoned me with paraquat. When the police suspected foul play, my father and brother helped fabricate false testimonies. The whole family unanimously claimed that I had committed suicide by taking poison. Eventually, my internal organs decayed, and I died painfully in the hospital. After my death, I watched as my sister-in-law, smiling, began to divide my inheritance at my funeral hall. She used my inheritance to travel the world, support my nephew's business, and even found a new wife for my father, yet she couldn't even spare the money to buy me a decent grave. The family I loved the most exploited me completely. This time, I decided to respect their choices and replied with a smile, "Sister-in-law, your choice is surely perfect. You're truly diligent and thrifty in managing the household." She was extremely proud. "That's right. The money I save each year is more or less equivalent to earning tens of thousands of yuan." I thought to myself, let's see if the money saved from living in this kind of house is enough to cover future medical bills. This time, I chose to remain silent and let them face whatever might come in the future on their own. Before I left, my father called me into his room for a talk. "Mimi, your sister-in-law said her Nangja had an emergency and borrowed the 500,000 yuan you gave last time. Do you have any more spare money? Your brother has a hard time supporting the family. Baby milk powder and diapers all cost money." I couldn't help but smile sarcastically. Spare money? Both my company and my savings were the results of my hard work. Seeing that I still didn't agree, my father became impatient. "You're a girl. Eventually you'll get married. If you don't spend this money on your own brother and nephew, are you going to spend it on outsiders?" "Dad, I'll also need money for my future children." His eyes darted around. "Your nephew will surely repay you when he grows up." How could he ignore his own aunt? They had said the same thing in my previous life. In my previous life, my sister-in-law didn't want to work for years. She spent all day at home researching ways to save money. She even disliked the jobs I introduced to my brother, either deeming them too mentally exhausting or too physically tiring. She made him take a job as a security guard to idle away his time, allowing him to get off work early. The whole family lived leisurely, and whenever they were short of money, they would ask me for it. Every time they would say, "You only have one brother and nephew. They will surely repay you." Out of love for my nephew, I replaced the cheap milk powder my sister-in-law bought and covered the expenses for his milk powder and diapers. I didn't really expect them to repay me. I just hoped that my brother and sister-in-law's family would live a good life and let my mother, who had passed away, rest in peace. Unexpectedly, the repayment from the nephew I had sponsored and raised was to poison me to death. This time I won't be a fool again. My sister-in-law has already worked out a plan to save money on milk powder. Who am I to interfere? My father's smile froze. He loved his grandson but dared not offend his daughter-in-law. In my previous life, Lin Weining was extremely domineering and was very confident in her money-saving strategies. When my father merely said that the paper she bought from Pinduoduo was of poor quality, she secretly targeted him for a whole month. How could I give my grandson that kind of milk powder that costs 30 yuan for a large can? My sister-in-law said. I smiled and patted her on the shoulder to comfort her, and then I went into the kitchen, made a cup of cheap milk powder, and went back to the room. Late at night a month later, my father called in a hurry. Mimi, my dear grandson has a fever. Hurry up and contact that familiar doctor. We must bring down his fever today. As expected, something was wrong with my dear nephew. I had investigated the house they lived in. If it hadn't been vacant for half a month, the formaldehyde inside would have been enough to kill him. Did you hear me? Hurry up and make the call, my father urged. I agreed and hung up the phone. I casually made an ordinary emergency appointment for them. When I slowly arrived at the hospital, Huang Xian's fever had reached 40 degrees. My father hunched over and carefully followed my sister-in-law with a water cup. From a distance, I could hear my sister-in-law's complaints. You can't even take care of the child. What on earth are you good for? You're so stupid. My father vented his anger on me when he saw me. Didn't I tell you to hurry up? Your dawdling might have burned my grandson's brain. I'll beat you up for this. Just coming to watch the scene, I couldn't be bothered to pay attention to him. The nurse said we needed to draw blood to find out the cause of the high fever. Lin Weining flew into a rage when she saw the inspection fees. You're trying to cheat me out of my money. It's just a fever. Do we really need all these tests? She said. I've done my research. It's better to buy some effective antifebrile medicine from the pharmacy at the door. Lin Weining picked up Huang Xian and was about to leave, but my father managed to persuade her to stay. When we entered the outpatient room, the doctor frowned after examining Huang Xian. The child has had a high fever for several days. How can we not check thoroughly? And I think he's a bit malnourished. Lin Weining got impatient again. You're just an incompetent doctor. Just bring down the fever. What does malnutrition have to do with it? She picked up Huang Xian and ordered my father to leave. I've done my research. The small clinic is much faster than this big hospital. After leaving the outpatient room, my father told me to file a complaint. That doctor just wants to make more money from us. Your sister-in-law has done her research. There's no need to make things so complicated for a fever. I shook my head and inwardly lamented how terrifying ignorance could be. I didn't know if my father was afraid of my sister-in-law or had been completely brainwashed by her money-saving strategies. In my previous life, I felt sorry for Huang Xian and paid for all his medical checks, using the best medicine so he could have a good body despite his mother's actions. In this life, I respect other people's fates. Before leaving, my father gave me a dirty look. You can't even do a simple thing right. You should send more money home. How could I have given birth to such an unfilial daughter? Learn from your sister-in-law. The best decorated room in the house is reserved for me to live in. I raised my eyebrows. Yes, my sister-in-law is virtuous, thrifty, and filial. Unlike me, she doesn't know that the best decorated room has the most serious formaldehyde problem. Watching them leave with the weak and listless Huang Xian, I couldn't help but laugh. I wondered if my dear nephew would poison his mother when he grew up and found out that his illness was caused by his mother's money-saving strategies. In this life, instead of using my hard-earned money to support this blood-sucking family, I went abroad to expand my business and established a branch company. When I returned to the country 8 years later, I saw a familiar figure in a mobile live stream. It was my sister-in-law Lin Weining, who had become a blogger sharing money-saving strategies. Her strategies were novel and rich, and with her status as a mother, she had attracted a large number of fans who were also mothers. Lin Weining held her phone and showed the good products she had recently bought during the live stream, including a down jacket that cost only 9.9 yuan, a school bag that cost 2 yuan, and some Zapita Baojianpin with all English labels. She gently fed Huang Xian the Baojianpin. After watching for a few minutes, I saw that the products in the link had all been sold out. Huang Xian in the camera was thin and short, and he even had trouble sitting on the dining chair. Some sharp-eyed netizens in the bullet comments noticed the problem. This child doesn't look like he's 8 years old. I thought he was only 6. It seems he's too short. The host feeds her child these health products every day, but it doesn't seem to have any effect. Hey, I remember the child had a nosebleed during the last live stream. Look at the house they live in. Doesn't it look strange? The minimalist style but gaudy curtains, and the host said all the furniture is brand new. I think it might be a flip-flopped house. Lin Weining panicked. Don't be led astray, everyone. Those people in the comments are just hired haifun from my competitors. My husband and I are not tall, so it's natural for our child to be a bit short. If it weren't for these health products, he would be even shorter. She was just lying blatantly for money. Although my brother was over 1.8 meters tall, if it weren't for my sister-in-law's actions, Huang Xian wouldn't be lagging behind in height. Some netizens in the bullet comments were not convinced and continued to send messages. We kindly reminded you, but you slandered us as black fans. You'll probably get leukemia. Before they could say more, Lin Weining blocked and kicked them out. With a smile, she said, Dear viewers, we've lived in this house for years. If there was a problem, we would have gotten sick already. Don't believe them. Then she turned and handed Huang Xian a bottle of oral liquid. Be a good boy and drink this before going to bed. It will help you grow taller. Huang Xian was absorbed in playing games and refused to drink. Lin Weining's hand was knocked over by Huang Xian, and she quickly made an excuse and ended the live stream. After she finished the live stream, I showed the video of Huang Xian to my doctor friend. Huang Xian was 8 years old but looked less than 1.2 meters tall, with a sallow face. I guessed it was a symptom of leukemia. His loss of appetite, coupled with the unknown products Lin Weining had been feeding him, meant that even with medical intervention, his chances of recovery were slim. Moreover, they didn't even invite me to their home for a meal. When Lin Weining learned that I had returned to the country, as soon as I entered the house, she showed off that she had become a small internet celebrity relying on her money-saving strategies. She had rented a 100 square meter house from the same landlord for only a few hundred yuan to use as a studio. I just smiled and praised her. Sister-in-law, you're so capable. This family really depends on you. My father sat on the sofa and snorted. When we asked you to support your brother and sister-in-law's business, you just ran abroad. Look now, the family can do well without you. You think you're so amazing. We asked you for money because we considered you one of us, but you don't know what's good for you. My brother gave me a disdainful look. Lin Weining chimed in. I wonder if some people will regret not getting along well with me now that I'm successful. I forced a smile. That's great. As long as you listen to sister-in-law, you'll definitely make a lot of money. Just don't come to me if you get leukemia. My father raised his eyebrows and motioned for me to look at the kitchen. I turned and saw a woman in her 40s walking out with dishes. It was the stepmother my father married in my previous life. In my previous life, they were all over each other in my morning hall. They even accidentally revealed that they had been having an affair before my mother died. They had been hoping for my mother's death and then mine, and they had lived a harmonious life using my inheritance. Just thinking about it made me clench my fists. I wanted to tear that woman apart, but then I calmed down. Just giving her a good beating was too lenient. She should live in this good house and enjoy it. This is Aunt Zhao. Now that you know I've remarried, you should take all your mother's things away, my father said. I was filled with anger, but I couldn't wait to leave. I picked up the portrait of my mother and was about to go when a hand grabbed the hem of my clothes. I turned around and saw Huang Xian looking at me dully. Aunt, take me with you. Why don't you want me anymore? He said. I was shocked. In my previous life, to give Huang Xian a better education, I took him in and raised him myself, giving him the best resources. But in this life, I had never said such a thing. There was only one possibility. He had been reborn too. I'm just your aunt. How can I take you away? You should stay with your parents, I said to test him. He became anxious. Why can't you? You raised me by your side in the previous life. As I expected, Huang Xian had been reborn. Sensing that I was angry, he grabbed my hand and begged. Aunt, please take me with you. I was wrong. You were the one who loved me the most. But I shook off his hand and left without looking back. The next day, I went to the school to handle some business. When I was leaving, I happened to meet Lin Weining. She was dragging Huang Xian and storming into the teacher's office. I thought it was interesting and decided to stay and watch. In the office, Lin Weining pointed at the other parents and started scolding. You little brats. How dare you hit my son? Teacher, I demand that you expel them all. The other parents were furious. Who do you think you are? Who are you calling brats? Have you even understood what happened? You want to expel our children? That's ridiculous. Your son stole things. He not only stole my son's pocket money but also stole his breakfast money. Don't you even give your son pocket money? Lin Weining's face turned red with anger. I don't care, teacher. My son was beaten until he had a nosebleed. You have to do something about it. Huang Xian hid behind her. His already short body, coupled with the bruises on his face, made him look even more pitiful. The teacher tried to mediate. Ms. Lin, both sides are at fault. I suggest we sit down and discuss this properly. One of the parents gave her a disdainful look. I heard that Huang Xian often has nosebleeds. Maybe it wasn't because of the beating. Lin Weining retorted. You're talking nonsense. Be careful or I'll sue you. Suddenly Huang Xian saw me and shouted, Aunt, save me. Lin Weining also turned to look at me. Mimi, you're just in time. Come and support your nephew. Look at how they beat Huang Xian. I was dragged in. You all wait. Do you know who my sister-in-law is? She's a famous female entrepreneur in Jiangcheng. How dare you hit her nephew? You'll regret it. Lin Weining and the others didn't know that my worth had increased tenfold compared to 8 years ago. Since there were reports about me in the news yesterday, they were trying to take advantage of me. Huang Xian was indeed my nephew. To avoid being affected by them, I had to deal with this matter. However, it was impossible to expel those students. I carefully arranged for those students to sit around Huang Xian, taking good care of him. After leaving the office, Lin Weining complained to me. Those little brats caused all this trouble. I didn't even have time to do my live stream today. I plan to cooperate with second-hand landlords in various cities and promote them with my money-saving strategies. They promised to give me 10% of the profits. If I hadn't had a child, my career would be even more successful than yours. I held back my laughter and complimented her. Yes, sister-in-law, you're so smart. You can succeed in anything you do. I had to admit that Lin Weining was quite clever, but unfortunately, she didn't use her intelligence in the right place. Just as we went downstairs, we found that Huang Xian was missing. We heard that he had gone to the hospital, so Lin Weining hailed a taxi and went after him. I heard that Huang Xian had tried several times to go to the hospital for a checkup, but each time Lin Weining dragged him back. She said she had many fans near the hospital, and she had built an online persona of Huang Xian growing up healthily thanks to her health products. If people saw him going to the hospital, it would be a disaster. However, since Huang Xian was also reborn, he wouldn't give up easily. One night, there was a rapid knock on my door. When I went out to check, it was Huang Xian. As I tried to close the door, he grabbed it tightly. "Aunt, I was wrong. Aunt, are you reborn too? It was my mother who forced me to poison you. It wasn't my fault." Huang Xian was truly a bad seed. Although Lin Weining had instigated him, he was the one who carried out the poisoning. To make me take him in, he shifted all the blame onto his mother. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Let go," I said, pushing him away. Just as I was about to slam the door shut, Huang Xian knelt down and shouted, "I don't want to live with that crazy woman anymore. She wants to kill me. Since you were willing to raise me in the previous life, why not do it again? Are you going to watch me die?" Fearing to disturb the neighbors at night, I let him in. Huang Xian thought I had accepted him and started complaining as soon as he entered the room. "Aunt, you have no idea. Lin Weining is a lunatic. She forces me to take those unbranded health products every day for her live streaming sales. It makes me have nosebleeds all the time. I think I'm sick. Can you take me to see a doctor?" I sat on the sofa, listening to his tales of woe. The more miserable he seemed, the more satisfied I felt. But he was wrong about one thing. His nosebleeds were not just because of the health products. The rented house was a bigger factor. I didn't want to tell him how I had died a miserable death in the hospital in the previous life. This time, he would experience it for himself. "Aunt, my mother's health products are all fake, and so is her online persona. You're so capable. Why don't you expose her? Then find me an international school. With my memories from the previous life, I can go abroad and build a successful career." I shook my head. "Xian, what are you talking about? What previous life? Aunt, don't play dumb with me. We're in the same boat. Go and get my custody. You don't have a child anyway. I'll take care of you in your old age and manage your company." As soon as I let him in, he was already eyeing my company. But he had no chance. I hung up the phone and put it in my pocket. I guess Lin Weining was on her way here. Sure enough, the doorbell rang shortly after. As soon as I opened the door, Lin Weining stormed in angrily. She found Huang Xian and slapped him. "You ungrateful wretch. You actually tried to get her to expose your own mother." Lin Weining tried to drag him back, but Huang Xian clung to my leg. "I'm not going back. I'll take care of Aunt. I won't go back with you, you poisonous woman. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be so much shorter than my peers. It's all your fault." The more he said, the harder Lin Weining hit him. I squatted down and pried his fingers off one by one. "Xian, Aunt would love to take care of you, but you're not my child. Go back with your mother." "I'm sure what Xian said is nonsense, sister-in-law. You would never harm him." Lin Weining was satisfied. "You're so sensible." Huang Xian broke down and shouted at us. "You're Balfua, aren't you? You're Balfua." Then he was slapped several more times by Lin Weining before being dragged home. I sat back, leisurely sipping my wine, enjoying the spectacle of them turning on each other. This was just the beginning of the real revenge. I wanted to see karma at work in this life. Soon, I met their family again at a high-end restaurant. I heard Lin Weining had recently landed a big advertising deal and was treating the family to a meal. We were seated at opposite tables. Lin Weining sat at the head of her table, with all the best dishes placed in front of her. My stepmother didn't even have a seat and stood by her side like a servant. Sometimes I couldn't understand what my father saw in her. Was it her sharp tongue or her slovenly habits? When I got up to go to the restroom, my stepmother followed. "This big gemstone is so beautiful. I'm so lucky. Some people may have money, but they don't have the luck to enjoy it," she said, flaunting her wrinkled fingers with a ring on her index finger. She was clearly mocking my mother. My mother had been unlucky all her life. She married a lazy man who couldn't support the family. She had to pay for my brother's wedding and my school fees. Just when I started making money after entering society, she was diagnosed with uterine cancer. I was away signing a contract when she passed away, and I didn't even get to see her for the last time. I turned around and said, "Yes, you're very lucky. You and my father are a perfect match. Your best days are yet to come. If it weren't for your mother giving birth to you two brats, your father would have divorced her long ago, but it worked out well in the end. Now I have a ready-made son, and my daughter-in-law is so successful. I really am lucky." I slapped her across the face, and blood started streaming from her nose. She looked at herself in the mirror and shrieked, "Huang Li, how dare you? You made me bleed." I sneered, "That's exactly why I hit you. Why don't you go and tell them why I did it?" It was hilarious to see the look of hatred and helplessness in her eyes. But her nosebleed wasn't really my fault. She had flinched when I raised my hand, and it wasn't hard enough to cause bleeding. Maybe it was a symptom of leukemia. When Huang Xian saw me coming out of the restroom, he went crazy. "Huang Mi is reborn. I'm reborn too. She's here to get revenge. She must be plotting something." I pretended to be confused and walked over to pat his head. "Xian, what are you talking about? What do you mean by reborn? Why would I want to get revenge on you?" Huang Xian glared at me viciously and finally managed to say, "Because I poisoned you in the previous life. You were all accomplices. You helped me with the false testimony and divided up her inheritance. Everyone around us thought he was out of his mind." I continued, Xian, you couldn't be that heartless, could you? Sister-in-law, has Xian been taking some unqualified health products recently?" Lin Weining stood up angrily and slapped Huang Xian hard. "You little wretch. What are you talking about? My son must be tired from not sleeping well last night. Let's go home right now." Huang Xian tried to resist but was dragged away by Lin Weining. As a public figure, she couldn't let Huang Xian cause a scene in public. After that incident, Lin Weining simply suspended Huang Xian from school and locked him at home like a prisoner. After a month of being locked up, Huang Xian couldn't take it anymore. He jumped out of the third-floor window when no one was at home. The next time I received a call from my father, it was to tell me that Huang Xian had leukemia. You useless girl. If you had given us the money back then, my grandson wouldn't have gotten leukemia. Come over right now and pay for the treatment. Which hospital? The one closest to home. I hung up the phone and couldn't help but laugh. Finally, he was diagnosed. With Huang Xian's diagnosis, I guess the rest of the family wouldn't be far behind. I rushed to the hospital. In the ward, Huang Xian was lying on the bed, unconscious, and Lin Weining was still doing a live stream by his bedside. She was crying, telling everyone how hard her life had been. The doctor said it's terminal and very hard to treat. What will happen to my family now? If it weren't for my money-saving strategies going viral, I wouldn't even have the money to treat Xian Xian. Please everyone like and send me gifts. I was amazed at how she could be so heartless towards her own child. If it weren't for her obsession with those money-saving strategies, Huang Xian wouldn't be in this situation. I wondered if she would feel any regret when she found out she had killed her own son. When she saw me come in, she started to act up for the live stream. Mimi, Xian Xian has leukemia. I've been supporting the whole family, and I don't have much money left. Please save Xian Xian. I'm begging you, sister. Then she knelt down in front of the camera. It made me sick, but I played along. Sister-in-law, I'll do my best to save Xian Xian. Why don't you step out for a while? I want to check on Xian Xian. Lin Weining, busy with the live stream, left readily. When I lifted the quilt, I saw that Huang Xian's hands and feet were tied up with ropes. He grimaced in pain when I touched him. What are you doing here? You came to kill me, didn't you? He struggled violently, as if he wanted to eat me alive. I sat down by his bed and tucked the quilt around him. Why would I need to do that, dear nephew? Do you think you're here just because you broke your leg? Look at which department this is. Didn't your parents tell you that you have leukemia? Huang Xian's pupils dilated. Seeing that he was in the hematology ward, he slumped back on the pillow defeated. So you came here to laugh at me, right? Don't think my parents will save me. I nodded and then shook my head. Not entirely. I also have some Luyin for you to hear. I played the recording on my phone. Honey, should we still treat Xian Xian? The doctor said there's no hope, and it will cost a lot of money. Treat him? That useless thing. We might as well have another child. Let him die in the hospital. We can even gain some more popularity from it. Huang Xian angrily threw my recorder away. Get out. All of you get out. Does everyone want me to die? Then I don't want to live anymore. Seeing him in such a miserable state, I left the room satisfied. Soon after I left, there was a loud bang. The nurses ran around in a panic. No. The little boy in room 402 jumped out of the window. I smiled slightly. Our yin was finally over. When I went downstairs, Lin Weining and the others had already arrived. Even if she didn't like her son, she had to pretend in front of others. She fainted dramatically. My father was even worse. He actually fainted from shock. His beloved grandson had died right in front of him like a burst watermelon. His blood pressure soared and he passed out. I forced myself to cry and ran over. Dad, sister-in-law, hang in there. Now that something has happened to Xian Xian, you mustn't leave us. More medical staff rushed over to take them to the emergency room. I waited outside the emergency room. 2 hours later, my sister-in-law was wheeled out first. Seeing that there was no one else in the ward, she grabbed my collar. It was you. You secretly recorded my conversation with your brother. You drove my son to his death. I batted my eyes innocently. Sister-in-law, what are you talking about? What recording? Play it for me. Don't try to deny it. I found your recorder in Xuanxuan's room. She shouted angrily. Well, then why don't we call everyone in and listen to it together? Let's see what could have driven my dear nephew to jump. She was left speechless and collapsed onto the ground. I continued with a smile. Sister-in-law, so you do have some feelings for your son. I thought you were just upset about losing a money-making tool. Oh, by the way, it was actually you who killed him. The formaldehyde in that rented house you found was seriously Chalbao. You're the one who gave him leukemia. Lin Weining gasped in horror and looked up at me. Impossible. My strategies can't be wrong. I don't know about that, I said, patting her shoulder. But don't worry, sister-in-law. You'll see Xian Xian soon. The doctor told me you have leukemia too. Amidst her screams, I left the ward with satisfaction. My father wasn't so lucky. He never woke up after being taken to the emergency room. With his beloved grandson dead and himself scared to death, I was about to leave when I saw my stepmother and my brother fighting outside the emergency room. My brother was shouting, "You old hag! You seduced my father, and now you want to steal our family's money? I'll kill you. I'm your father's legal wife. Now that he's dead, you have to take care of me." It was so satisfying to watch them fight each other. After leaving the hospital, I didn't waste any time. I exposed the truth about Lin Weining's money-saving strategies, which were actually promoting unqualified products online. Suddenly, the couple became the target of public hatred. The brand owners demanded compensation for breach of contract. My brother divorced Lin Weining to distance himself from the scandal and shifted all the blame onto her. In the end, Lin Weining died in the hospital without money for treatment. I took my mother's ashes and left the city, finding a nice place to continue developing my business. In just a few years, I became one of the most prominent female entrepreneurs in the country. The end.